Hey, Steve here with today's topic, All You Need Is Love. As I stated in the introduction vlog, I'm not here to bash the church. However, some of the practices of the church, some of the ways of thinking of church members needs to be examined. I've come to realize that much like the Pharisees of Jesus' time, the church has become very rule-driven in the way it functions. There's very little talk from Christians to come to Jesus, and instead you hear a lot of talking about coming to church. Christians today seem to gauge a person's godliness based on how well they're following the rules of the church. For instance, we look at how often a person attends church to determine how godly they are. I can't tell you how many conversations I've overheard between saints of the church bashing another person because of their lack of presence in church services. After talking about how far this person has drifted from God because of their lack of church attendance, these well-meaning saints usually come to the conclusion we just need to invite them back to church and get them plugged into church again. I'm sorry, but when did the church take the place of God? And furthermore, when did attendance to a service in a building become the church? Correct me if I'm wrong, but did Jesus not say that the number one aspect of his followers, now referred to as the Christians, is to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, mind, soul, and strength? And did Jesus also not say that the second most important thing is to love your neighbor as yourself? Where does Jesus say, church attendance is the most important thing my followers can do? When is it that every Christian surrendering himself fresh and new to God each day so that Jesus lives through us, so that love flows from us to God and to others, when did that get replaced by an 11 o'clock Sunday morning service? Why, Christians, are we so caught up in church attendance as an act and an evidence of godliness instead of daily surrender that leads to our love for God and our love for others, and letting that be the main form of godliness that we look for in others? You want to know why? It's because it's easier to go to church on Sunday than to surrender to God daily. Sadly, we Christians have bought into a lie from the enemy that if we will just go to church regularly, we will be the godly person that God expects us to be. I really believe that Satan has no issue with Christians going to church regularly. If he can get us to believe that this is the most godly function that we can do, he's defeated the church. If you're not a Christian, I want you to know that God accepts you just the way that you are. There are no good works that you're required to do. There's no church that you have to attend to be loved and accepted by God. His only requirement is that you believe in him, that you trust him, realize he's your creator, accept that he's the Lord of your life. Allow the fact that God gave you life to begin to compel you to fall in love with him. I challenge you Christians out there listening to this to realize this truth. The church is not a building. The church is not a service that we attend. The church is the actual people of God, loving God and loving others as instructed. So Christians, my challenge to you is this. Stop going to church. Start being the church. Whose life could you really make a difference in if you truly started loving them?